What is up guys, Taiki here. Today I'll be going over farms of the week, where I'll be going over farms I'm currently in as well as farms I'm watching. So if you like the content, please like and subscribe and leave a comment in the comment section below. So let's get started. So my strategy has not changed at all. I'm still in Dinoswap, I'm still on the Terra ecosystem, and my capital is deployed there. So I'm not going to spend too much time on Dino because I spent like the last 10 days explaining like what I'm doing. But essentially I'm just taking all my Dino and just hyper compounding it back to the Dino USDC pool. I'm up roughly 55% on my capital in the last 10 days, which is pretty good. You know, this is how much I put in and this is how much it's worth now. Obviously this can change tomorrow, it can go up or down. But you know, I have a thesis, I'm sticking to it. Because I mean, at the end of the day, if you have a plan, then you'll be ready for all scenarios. Because touching on yesterday's, you know, this dirty candle, when Bitcoin started pumping, when it was putting in the giga candle, a lot of people sold their Dino to FOMO into Bitcoin and Ethereum. So the team actually addressed this because people were panicking on Telegram, right? Like, oh, this is another Iron Finance, it's going to zero. But it kind of makes sense because I'm sure a lot of people were caught offsides with Bitcoin's recent moves. And at the end of the day, like if you're in crypto for the long haul, like most people's goals is to stack more Bitcoin, stack more ETH, and stack a little bit of different altcoins, which is definitely my plan, right? Like in the last 2 months, the only, I guess, coins I bought was Bitcoin and Luna. And you know, like I'm always trying to stack more Bitcoin because I'm fundamentally bullish and on a risk-adjusted basis, like it's hard to beat Bitcoin's gains, right? So it makes sense. Dino is the liquidity for people to foam into not altcoins, but Bitcoin, and the price has held up decently. I'm not really too worried, right? Because when I first talked about this last week, I said my base case for the price of Dino was the Stegosaurus pattern, where the price of Dino will linger around whatever this price is. I don't do price targets. I'm just predicting like it's the most likely shape for the Dino price is going to be something like this over some period of time. And in this case, the Dino USDC pool will be printing. And so far it's been right. Hopefully it stays right for the foreseeable future. But you know, that's my strategy. The one thing I do want to touch on is first of all, the tweet from Dinoswap here. So their anchor fund, right, one of the VCs that invested into Dinoswap, hashed. They're one of the biggest. So they've been providing liquidity to the core Dino pair, right? Meaning this one, right? So one of the VCs with all the tokens that they've been getting, they're putting it back into liquidity. What does that mean? Well, that means that they're farming more Dino tokens, right? And if I suggest everyone watch this podcast that I did with Cole0x. He's also one of the investors for Dinoswap, and he laid out his thesis for Dinoswap roughly in the 42-minute mark. And he mentioned that his firm and himself personally is also putting his capital into the Dino USDC pool, right? So it seems likely that all the VCs are just farming Dino because they are longer term bullish. I'm just speculating off of 2 data points, right? But just predicting things. But what this actually means is that though on the website roughly 30% of the tokens are going to the team and investors, that number is probably higher because out of all the 15% of tokens that the investors receive, they're putting it back into Dinoswap and farming more with it. So I don't know if it's 35%. So maybe instead of 15%, it's closer to 20% is to the investors. So I guess this is kind of scary because the investors have more power, right, over the price of Dino. But it's also reassuring that their tokens are vested over 12 months, so they don't really have an incentive to dump their tokens on day 10, right? If anything, like from their perspective, I'd rather not sell Dino for like 2 months and like let it float there, right? Just so they can slowly get out of the market. I'm not saying that's what they're gonna do, but I'm just thinking from like a game theory wise, like even if they think the price of Dino is overvalued, it's in their incentive to not sell, right? Does that make sense, right? This is game theory and like economic incentives, and that's the whole thesis behind Dinoswap. I'm not trying to get like a 15x or 20x off of Dino, right? I just entered this because I thought it was a plus EV farm, right? I thought it was profitable. My base case is this, and if this is my base case with a high probability of this happening, then this is a plus EV farm. And so far, so good. So far, so good. So let's hope this continues. Okay. And also, last thing I'll touch on is today they're going to launch a new pair for Dino and ETH, right? Which should be good, I guess, because there's going to be more demand for the Dino token to provide liquidity and to farm more Dino. And because of all these angel investors that are in Dinoswap, right? One of the angel investors in Dino is the founder of Polygon, and the founder of Polygon, I'm sure, had a say in like yo, QuickSwap, like you should partner with Dino, just so there's more excitement in the Polygon ecosystem. So looking at the team, looking at the investors, looking at all the advisors, it makes sense that Dinoswap should be a decent farm. Not financial advice. Always do your own research. This thing can always go south. So if it does go south, don't blame me, right? Like you're clicking the buttons. But if it does go up, then don't thank me, right? I guess use me as a resource, and I'm just being transparent with what I'm doing. Okay, so in terms of farms I'm watching, I still think Curve on Polygon is so good. If Dinoswap was like not around, I would just park my Bitcoin and ETH in here, right? Earning like 30%. Like impermanent loss shouldn't be that big of a deal, especially when you're providing liquidity for stablecoins, Bitcoin and ETH, right? It's negligible. So, a lot of people are anti-impermanent loss, and they're like, I don't want to deal with impermanent loss, but their ignorance is your alpha. That's what I like to say. And even on the dollar pair, right? This is earning like 13-14%. Like that's really good for stablecoins. So, for a relatively safe protocol, like this is like one of the best you can get. So Curve is also a good one. For this video, I'm not going to go over like the other things on Polygon, just because I kind of laid them out last week and nothing has changed. But I just wanted to update you guys on what I'm doing on Mirror and Anchor, right? So I entered Mirror like roughly 2 weeks ago, right? And this is roughly the setup I had. I had 16.4K of stable coins that I put into the Terra ecosystem, right? And just a quick recap of what I did. So I put 6.4K of the stable coins that I had, and I bought Luna with it. So far, the price of Luna is up 10%, so that's pretty good. But the main reason I bought Luna is, yes, I am longer term bullish on the Luna token, but on Anchor, I can borrow whatever amount that I want and earn and be paid to do so. This used to be like 90%, right? But now it's roughly 48%, where I'm using my Luna as collateral, borrowing stablecoins against it, and being paid to do so, right? I'm paying 16.5% interest, but the Anchor protocol is rewarding me with 65% paid in the Anchor token, right? So the net APR is 48%. And you can see that, in like roughly 2 weeks, I've accumulated 33 Anchor, right? So, accumulating Anchor tokens, because I'm not sure how bullish I am on the Anchor token, but right now I'm just happy just accumulating it because, I don't really have a plan for it yet. So let's just accumulate. So, so like I mentioned, I had 16.4K initially, right? And I borrowed $1,500, right? So with the $1,500 and the $10,000 that I had remaining, I put it into the Anchor Earn page, where I'm earning roughly 19.6%, right? And you can't actually see that like I have like 11.5K in here, but it's actually there, right? As you can see, I've deposited roughly 11.5K of UST. That's because I'm using my UST on Anchor as collateral to short farm. And there's always confusion on like, I don't see my money on Anchor. Like, how do I know that I'm earning interest? Well, here's like literal proof for you. Last week, I don't know if you can see here, but I had $11,532 worth of UST, right? But now I have $11,575. So every week I'm earning roughly $30 in UST, which is really nice because I'm using $11,500 as collateral and shorting gold against it, right? And when I shorted it, my collateral ratio was 180%, but because the price of gold has gone down and the price of my collateral has gone up, my collateral ratio is 184. It's pretty good. And I'm not shorting gold because I'm bearish gold, right? I actually think gold can do well in this type of macro environment. I'm just shorting gold because, first of all, it's very, very low beta, right? It doesn't do anything, right? It just goes sideways. Maybe it goes up 5%, like in a certain month, and goes down 5% the next month. But I'm just like doing this. I'm just shorting gold because I just want to capture the short farm 24%, right? And this is paid in the Mirror token. So in 2 weeks, I've accumulated roughly almost 9 Mirror, right? Which is pretty nice. The one thing that I should note is that When I short something on Mirror, I'm borrowing the asset, right? So I'm borrowing gold and selling it in the market, right? That's the definition of shorting. So like obviously, like when you sell something, like you should get money in return, right? But on Mirror, you have to wait 2 weeks because it's locked for 2 weeks. I think it's to prevent spam attacks, and this is going to be unlocked on Wednesday. So what you can do, right, or I guess what I can do, is that if I want to remain delta neutral, meaning that, you know, a strategy where I don't care if gold goes up or down, I can just put all of like $6,500 in the gold, in the long farm, right, where I provide liquidity, where I put like $3,200 of the gold and $3,200 of the UST, and I can be paid 24%. The cool thing about that is, you know, if I do this delta neutral strategy, I'm literally just capturing like whatever APR like that I'm receiving here, right? So I'll be essentially earning 48% APR on dollars, right? Because it's a delta neutral strategy. But I might not do that. Obviously, it depends like what the rates look like on Wednesday. These rates fluctuate a lot. So, you know, I might just long something like the QQQ, just because I own stocks in my brokerage account. And after looking at Mirror, I'm like, why do I even own stocks on my brokerage account? So I might just long farm a QQQ for like $6,500 and then sell like $6,500 worth of stocks. You know, just so like, I guess I can like cash out like some money into like to like pay for living expenses and whatnot. But you know, I think Anchor and Mirror are like really great places to, you know, park capital. And a good summary of this strategy is, you know, I assuming that the price of Luna remains constant. Like this used to be roughly 50%, but I guess more money has flown into the space, so now it's at 38%, which is fine. Like I'm still happy with it, right? But if you think about it, I started with 16.4K, and let's just add how much money I have now. So this is roughly worth $7,100, and on Mirror I have 11.5K, right? But you have to subtract 1,500 because I'm borrowing that much. So I essentially have 17.6K in this entire ecosystem, which is pretty good, right? I'm up like $1,000 in 2 weeks. Obviously, if Luna dumps, then I also kind of lose out. But you know, I think it's a good strategy. I think like being on Terra is a pretty good place to park your capital. And you know, the cool thing about Terra is that, you know, you don't even have to go through this step. Whoops. You don't even have to go through this step of, you know, buying Luna and borrowing against it. If you think that's too risky, you can just put all your dollars into Anchor and just do the strategy that I laid out on here, right? Like, so you can just be delta neutral with dollars and earn like roughly 40%, which, I mean, pretty good. So yeah, that's essentially what I've been doing. You know, both the Terra ecosystem and Dino has done well for me. Hopefully it does continue. Like I said, like I don't think Dino is gonna hit double figures, right? I just don't think that's gonna be the case. My base case, I mean, I'm not saying it won't, but my base case is the Stegosaurus pattern, where I'm just gonna be humble, gonna be stacking yield, hyper compound, and maybe, you know, next month sometime I'll just slowly take profits or something. Obviously things can change in a dime, right? Like if there's news, like my thesis can change, but so far, given like market conditions, my thesis has not changed. So, you know, I'm not really panicking. I'm sure that most of you like that may have FOMO'd into Dino, that like didn't really have a plan, like may have sold the bottom. But that's the whole point of having a plan, right? Like I had a plan. Like my base case is a freaking Stegosaurus, so I wasn't really phased by this. Also, I was in this since day one, so you know, even like this dump like doesn't really affect my P&L, because, you know, I'm earning such high interest where, you know, I mean this is like at 900%, which is pretty low. Like this used to be like 3,000%. So, you know, even if the token dumps, this strategy works because I'm earning high yield. Always do your own research. These rates will go down over time, obviously, but that's what I'm doing. So if you like the content, please like and subscribe and leave a comment in the comment section below. And also, one last question I have for you guys is, you know, what do you guys think about farms of the week? Because I feel like we're in this environment, you know, even though Bitcoin put in a godly candle, like we're still in a bear market, like by definition. And there's not going to be that many new opportunities. So I feel like if I keep doing this, like farms of the week, I'll be talking about the same thing over and over again. It'll be kind of redundant. So Let me know if these videos are still helpful. If they are, I can continue doing them. But if not, I'll just make other content. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day, and leave your answers in the comment section below. Bye.